So what do all three of these stories in this movie have in common? I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with the title of this movie. Hey everyone, this is Rabbit Animation Bliss, and welcome to another At the Movies Corner, where I talk about all the latest movies that just recently came out. So today's movie that I'll be talking about today is Netflix's stop-motion animated horror film, The House. And before I get into my thoughts about this film, here are a few words from the channel. Alright Animaniacs, now let's get on the social media train. Want to chat with us in 100 words or less? Then check out our Twitter account. Want to chat with us within a group? Then check out our Facebook account. Want to get the lowdown on everything dealing with animation on this channel? Then check all of the above. And now, we return to our regularly scheduled program. So The House is an anthology film that contains 3 different stories. And the first story is about this human family who is very poor and they're having a hard time trying to make it out in life until one day the father meets up with a mysterious stranger, and the stranger offers the father and his family to live in a lavish home that he has built for them. And so the father and his family end up moving to this lavish home, and the family really enjoys staying at this home. But unfortunately, the house is not what it seems. In the second story, it takes place in the modern times, and it focuses on a house developer who happens to be a rat, and he's trying so hard to sell the house that he's modeling, but unfortunately nobody's interested in the house, and all seems lost for the house developer until later on it turns out that this odd couple wants to take the house. And at first the house developer is okay with all this, but then he starts to realize that the couple are not what they seem. And then the final story takes place in a post-apocalyptic Earth, and it stars a landlady who happens to be a cat in this universe, and she's struggling to make ends meet for herself and is struggling to keep the house in good shape because her tenants don't have the money to pay her to make renovations to the house. And then one day, a mysterious stranger who happens to be a friend of one of her tenants comes to the house, and he starts shaking things up at the house as he convinces the tenants to try to leave the house since the house is about to be flooded, and the landlady still wants to stay at the house. And it was then that the mysterious stranger starts opening the landlady's eyes to what's really going on. So what are my thoughts about this movie? I really enjoy this movie. Like, it's been a while since I last seen an animated anthology film, and the fact that we get 3 different stories that stars 3 different characters dealing with the house was really interesting to me. And I like how this movie was able to tackle all of these characters dealing with this house and trying to make ends meet for themselves, but then they start to realize that something's wrong with the house, and all these creepy things start happening to the people who's inhabiting the house. And I do like the premise of that, as it's a very interesting premise, and I like to see where all these characters are going to go and how they try to deal with the house. And I like to see how all these characters try to deal with the house and all the creepy situations that's going on with the house. Another thing I really liked about this movie was the stop motion animation. Just like it's been a while since we last seen an anthology film, it's been a while since we last saw a stop motion animated film. And I like the fact that this film is animated stop motion because the designs on the characters are so well detailed and the animation is very beautiful to look at. And I like all the creepy touches to the characters themselves. Like, you have the first story where the human characters look very uncanny, like their eyes are so small for their faces that they look very unsettling. And I really like that aspect of these designs of the characters, as they look very creepy but very realistic at the same time, and it brings a lot of creepiness to the tone of the movie. And then another thing I really liked about this movie was the creepy tone itself. I like the fact that this movie has a very creepy atmosphere throughout all 3 of the shorts, even though the last short wasn't as creepy as the first 2 shorts, as it makes me sit on the edge of my seat wondering about what's going to happen to these main characters and what the house is doing to these main characters. So I do like the creepy atmosphere with this movie. Now, if there was an issue that I have with this film, it was the narrative itself. Like, even though the movie makes it clear that we have like 3 different stories in this one movie, There were times where I was wondering about, okay, is this the same house that's like in all three shorts, or is this a different house? And the movie's narrative didn't make that quite clear. Like, for one thing, I wanted to know how the house was able to survive throughout the decades, and how everybody was able to keep the house up to standards despite the fact that the house has been around for thousands of years. If that's the case, if this is the same house in all three of the shorts, and how come the movie didn't really explain about the house's powers or what this house is capable of doing. I would have liked to know more about the house itself and whether or not it actually had a negative impact on the characters themselves. So I would have liked to know more about that. But overall, I really enjoyed watching The House, even though the narrative was a bit confusing in regards to what the house is all about, or at least in describing the house itself. I still found myself really enjoying this film. I like the creepy tone of this film throughout all three of the shorts, and I like the fact that this is an anthology film, since it's been a long time since we've seen an anthology film, and I like seeing all of these different characters trying to deal with this creepy situation they have to deal with the house, and how it all affected them in different ways. So I really enjoy watching The House for that reason. So if you enjoy watching a stop motion animated horror film, then I definitely recommend you check out The House. Well, that's my review on The House. And tell me in the comments down below, have you seen The House? And if you have, did you like this movie? Did you hate this movie? And what's your favorite anthology animated film? Please let me know in the comments down below. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Rowdy's blog Animation Bliss, and I'll see you guys later.